that stuff. It didn't work.
For the last 15 years, the NBA media has been reading you a eulogy. They told you the center position was dead and that small ball had killed the giant. They told you the future belonged to Steph Curry, to guards, to 6'3" sharpshooters. They told you if you were 7 feet tall, you were just a dinosaur waiting on a meteor. And for a moment, they were right. We watched All-Stars become unplayable overnight. We watched the low post game, the foundation of basketball for over 60 years, vanish overnight. The old heads, they looked at the 90s and they mourned. They missed the days when the paint was a war zone, when the game was decided by who had the biggest, meanest giant in the middle. They looked at today's big men standing at the three-point line and called them soft. They called it the death of the center. But they were lying to you. It wasn't a death. It was a metamorphosis. We aren't watching the extinction of the giant. We are simply watching the golden age of the alien. The center didn't die. He just learned to conquer every position on the floor. Today, we are going to investigate the evolution. We will break down the monsters of the 90s, the math that nearly killed them, and the aliens who saved the position. This is the story of how the biggest men on Earth learned how to fly. To understand why people hate modern bigs, we have to talk about the Shaq trap. Shaquille O'Neal was so dominant, so physically overwhelming that he broke our brains. He had us all convinced that the big man had to be the bully. Force equals mass times acceleration. If you put Shaq in the paint, two things happened. You fouled him or you got humiliated. Then we have the other pillar, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. He was the ballerina. He proved a giant could have grace. But here's the context the highlights leave out. But they were prisoners of the paint. In the 90s, if Hakeem had taken a three-pointer, he would have been benched. Not because he couldn't make it, but because the coaches believed that if you left the paint as a big man, you were sinning against basketball. They were simply specialists. And in nature, when things change, the specialist is the first to die. There was another species of big man in the 90s that's almost completely extinct today. The enforcer. Most of these guys couldn't shoot, couldn't pass, heck, they couldn't dribble. Their job? To have 6 fouls and use them all.
Lane Beer, who's had that mouse under his eye for most, who's also got involved in it. It was an ugly situation.
They existed because the rules allowed them to. They would clog the paint. The illegal defense rules meant they could stay at home. They didn't have to guard the perimeter. They just had to be big. But then the NBA changed the rule book, and the asteroid hit. The center position didn't die because of softness. He disappeared because of math. Around 2012, NBA teams started hiring data analysts. They looked at the numbers and realized a terrifying truth. The post-up is a bad shot. Statistically, throwing the ball to a big man in the paint yielded about 0.5 points per possession. Running a spread pick and roll yielded over 1 point per possession. It's a basic equation. Why throw it to a giant in a wrestling match when you can just simply shoot a 3? And then came the executioners, the Golden State Warriors. They introduced the death lineup. They put a 6'6" Draymond Green at center, and all of a sudden, the traditional 7-foot big man wasn't just inefficient, he was a liability. If you couldn't switch on to Steph Curry, you couldn't play.
Rudy was outside of his comfort.
If you couldn't shoot a three-pointer to punish Draymond, you couldn't play. The message to the league was clear: adapt or die. And most died. But a few, they mutated. The evolution gave us something that the 90s mind couldn't comprehend. Meet Nikola Jokic. He is the antithesis of Shaq. He doesn't jump. Heck, he doesn't look like an athlete, but he frankly solved the math problem by turning the center position into the point guard. The post-up isn't inefficient when Jokic does it because he's not looking to score. He's looking to solve the problem. He's looking to make a pass. He inverted the geometry of the court. Shaq dominated you with his shoulders. Jokic dominates you with his mind.
As one of the greatest IQ guys that we've ever seen in Jokic.
To prove you don't have to be the strongest guy in the room to be the most dominant. Then you have the process. Joel Embiid. He's the bridge of both eras. He has the body of Shaq, 280 pounds of pure muscle with the skill set of an all-star guard. He learned to shoot because he had to. He learned to face up because the rules demanded it. He is proof that power isn't dead. It just needed to learn how to shoot. And then there's the alien, Victor Wembanyama. If you built a basketball player in a laboratory to destroy the 90s, you wouldn't build Shaquille O'Neal. You would build this. He's 7'4" and has an 8-foot wingspan, but he moves like Kevin Durant. In the 90s, a player this tall would be told to stay under the rim and block shots. Today, he's running the fast break, and he shoots step-back threes. He really isn't a center. He's positionless. He represents the final stage of the evolution, a world where size has no limitations. Here's the wildest part. Shooting used to be a luxury for big men. Now, it's a requirement. The unicorn is not special anymore. The unicorn is now the standard. If you're 7 foot tall and you can't handle the ball, you're just a dinosaur. Okay, let's stop the old head talk. Let's stop saying the center is dead. The center didn't die. He just broke out of his cage. Is the game less physical? Of course. You can't clothesline guys anymore. But is it less skilled? Absolutely not. Today's big men have to do everything Shaq did, while also having to shoot, dribble, and even pass. Shaq, he forced you to be strong. Wemby and Jokic forced you to be perfect. Welcome, my friends, to the golden age of the Giant. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of our latest video here at Game Changer. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps out. And if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting on? Who were some of your favorite big guys in the 90s? Who are your favorites of today? Let us know below in the comments. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. God bless you all.